Namaste, everyone, and welcome to our, I guess it's going to be weekly now, community Q&A. And this is for subscribers. This is for people who have been watching our channel for a while. And apparently it's also for the peacock. Well, he's going to miss breakfast today because I'm busy. But we're going to be talking about things that if you're not a subscriber, if you haven't watched our previous videos, you probably won't understand what we're talking about. So really, this is just for the hardcore fans. I see there's already plenty of questions. I can only see, like the last few lines of the chat. So I have to go here. I have to rewind to the beginning. Well, Camden wants to know about the ego. What about the ego? Yeah, the ego is necessary for interacting with the world. But strictly speaking, it's not necessary for existence. And why is that? Because it's just a thought. It's just an idea, a concept. The concept of I, a separate individual. Now there's false I, which means the body, the individual self, and then there's a real I, which means the whole, Brahman. And the whole purpose of self-realization is to shift our idea of self from one to the other. Now, does that mean that we don't have an ego anymore? No. The ego is necessary, but it doesn't have to be in charge. That's the difference between a sadhu and an asadhu, between someone who knows and who doesn't know. The ego is only, how can I say, like an accessory. It's not really necessary. Like little babies do fine without it. And many animals, the lower animals, don't have any ego at all. Now the higher mammals certainly do. But really the ego is a false thing. It's a construction. It's a fabrication. It's not real in any sense of the word. So the ego should be like a tool. It should be like a mask that we put on when we want to deal with the world and other egos. Because they wouldn't understand otherwise. The ego should definitely not be in charge. And you should also be able to set the ego aside when dealing with God, the absolute, meditation, love. All of these things not only don't require the ego, but the ego positively gets in the way. So one should be able to set aside the ego and then use it when necessary for dealing with the world. I think really that's all there is to say about it. Let's see some other questions. Now he wants to know about compassion. Well, compassion. So many of these things, so many of these questions that I get are like, well, just do it, Just be compassionate. And all the answers of any questions you might have about it will become perfectly obvious. You know, just set aside the ego. You know, and of course somebody's going to ask how. And my God, we've got hundreds of videos on the channel about how. I think the best use of this kind of a forum is to ask why, so that I can explain things a little bit more from a strategic perspective. Why should we get rid of the ego? Why should we be compassionate? You know, there's no need for so much detailed instruction. See, this is why you really need a guru. I mean, someone that you're physically present with and whose energy you can feel and who can guide you through the day's activities by example. See, I live in a very, very sacred place. Arunachala is right here, huh? And I'm surrounded by sadhus. There are sadhus on this side, on that side, over there, back there. There's sadhus everywhere. And if I go out, even on the main road, tons of sadhus. So, you know, maybe I forget how it is in materialistic society. But there's a lot of mutual respect. And there's a lot of actual love, you know, because I participate in the local program to feed the sadhus and like that. So even though we don't speak each other's language, there's a lot of mutual regards. And the compassion just springs automatically from seeing, here are these men who've given up everything, whether voluntarily or by force, and now they've come to this holy place and they've dedicated their whole lives to the holy path. And this is what they do now. You know, this is their whole life now. So it's automatic to be compassionate toward them because they're doing the right thing. Now, it's much harder to be compassionate to someone who is a rascal, who is materialistic, who is maybe negative toward you, who is maybe coming from such a different place that they can't recognize what you're trying to do at all, you know. It's much harder to be compassionate towards them. So maybe the best course in dealing with those kind of people is just to be compassionate from afar, you know. Send them good energy, wish them well within your heart, you know. Not necessarily say anything. Because, yeah, everybody could be on a higher platform. You can find grounds to criticize just about everybody, you know? But the point is not to criticize, not to find fault, not to judge or evaluate, but to simply give compassion. It's so simple, you know? There shouldn't be any question about it, really. So let's see what else we got here. Ryan is focusing on Nyasa. Nyasa is very powerful. Nyasa is how we get the Kundalini to break through the various knots. Nyasa is how we purify the whole body. Now, again, if someone was here, present, I could show them the mudras and so on that go along with the nyasa. That makes it even more powerful because just like there are 51 letters in the matrika, there are 51 places on the body corresponding with them. And we've gone over this before in the Mysteries of the Matrika series. I don't know if anybody got it or if anybody downloaded that particular file, but there's a Pita Matrika Nyasam is the name of the file that gives all the parts of the bodies and the goddesses also associated with them. The names of the goddess, rather, and the functions, the spiritual functions of those letters, of those matras. Hey, I love having peacocks and animals around. So anyway, the letters of the Sanskrit alphabet, 51 letters, correspond with 51 parts of the body, and they correspond with 51 places of pilgrimage around Greater India, Bharatavarsha. And so when doing the nyasa, you are supposed to touch those parts of the body after having purified the hand. And if you're wearing a Brahmin thread, you wrap the thread around your thumb and you touch the different parts as you say the mantras. And so this vitalizes all the chakras, all the nadis, all the internal organs, the energy structure of the subtle body. And it removes the blocks, or helps to remove the blocks, so that the Kundalini can rise. You know, actually, she could rise anytime. She's so powerful. But if you want to maintain ego attachments to the different parts of the body, you know, she's not going to disturb that. She is very loving and respectful. And if we want to be attached, if we want to be, you know, identified with the body in different ways, she respects that. She doesn't violate it. She doesn't break through it without our permission or without our asking her to. So the process of nyasa is to invoke her presence in every part of the body where we might be holding identifications. And this, of course, dissolves them and permits her to rise. This is one way to invoke the Kundalini. There are other ways, many other ways. And again, on this channel, there are hundreds and hundreds of videos on different ways to approach this process of cleansing the nadis and the chakras and allowing the Kundalini to rise. Now, the funny thing about this is, if you look around on the internet, you can find, I don't know, dozens or hundreds of different methods of clearing the chakras or balancing the chakras or whatever. And they're almost all completely bogus. This is what amazes me. Why don't people just follow the directions in the scriptures? Why do they have to make stuff up? You know, it boggles my mind that everything is given in the scriptures very clearly, and yet they still think that they have to, like, make stuff up. Or, the one thing that's common to all of them is that they think, I am the doer. I'm the doer, and I'm going to clear the chakras, and I'm going to make Kundalini rise. No, you're not. You can't make her do anything. But she can easily make you do things. And she does. So don't antagonize her. Don't disturb her. And definitely don't offend her by thinking, oh, I can make Kundalini rise. I'm the big yogi or whatever. She doesn't like that. And she'll give you all kinds of trouble. That's why people have this idea that Kundalini rising is a tremendous suffering and they have to go through so much stuff, you know. No, they don't. But they do because they disturb her, they offend her by thinking that they can make her rise. That's not it. Everything we teach is from the Shastras, from the scriptures directly, or from the instructions of great holy men like Ramana Maharshi. You know, so everything we teach here is bona fide, and we can give you the source on all of it. Try asking these other rascals on the internet, what's the source of their teaching and their methods? They can't give you any because it's all made up. It's just imaginary. But I suppose everybody has a right to their opinion. So let's see what else we got here. What's this now? Is it easy? This is a good question. Is it easy for a Westerner to live in India for practice and to seclude oneself for long periods of time? And if any advice on where can one look for information into this? Well, I first came to India in 1981. My guru, Bhaktivedanta Swami, invited me to come for initiation. And so I came to Vrindavan, and you know, that's Krishna's holy place. And I lived there as a brahmachari for, on and off, more than 15 years. And I was based in Vrindavan, but I went all over North India doing kirtan and doing preaching. And see, the key is it's not seclusion so much as association. You want to have good association. Good association is almost impossible to find in the West. Usually if there's some association, like a yoga center or a monastery or something like that, it is the domain of a particular teacher, and you have to accept that teacher as guru. So if you have some other idea or you're following some different path, that's not going to work out. And it's pretty much the same here in India too. When I got into really deep meditation, I had a strong desire to be in seclusion. So basically what I did was to rent a house way out in the villages. And in a holy place, Tiruvannamalai, but not in the center of town or even by the Ramanashramam or any of these busy places. I went way out in a village called Anai Pirantan. This is like almost 4 years ago when I first got here. And I rented a flat in a house, a two-floor house. My house was on the bottom, and the one on top was vacant most of the year. It was rented by a German guy who only came for like 3 months in the winter. So I was there the whole spring, summer, and fall, all by myself. Of course, the family who owned the house lived right next door. So it's not like I was completely isolated. If I needed something, I could always call them. But basically, I was completely on my own. I cooked for myself. And I went out shopping maybe every 3 days or 4 days, twice a week or so. And the rest of the time, I just did my sadhana. So I lived like that for about a year. And then, for one reason or another, I had to move. So I moved to another place, and this place was full of stoned hippies. That didn't last long. 3 months I was out of there, and then I moved to another place. And then I had trouble with the neighbors. The neighbors were very disrespectful. At that time, I had just taken sannyas. And so they were making offenses to a sannyasi, which is, very, very bad for your spiritual life. So I got out of there. And I found this new place. Now, this new place where I stay now, this is going on 3 years now. This is like heaven. It's in a small village just outside of Tiruvannamalai town limits. And it's actually very close to the mountain. I'm looking at him right now as I'm speaking. And right next to me is a farmer who raises rice and he has a few cows. Across the road from me is a temple, a very ancient Durga temple. And like I said, sadhus on this side, sadhus on that side, sadhus over there. So it's a very nice neighborhood. Very nice place. Mostly pretty quiet. And this is about as much seclusion as is possible to have, especially in a place like India where the population density is much greater than the West. So I suppose you could do this similar kind of thing in the West where you rent a house or buy a house and you just sit there and you don't do anything. The problem is you're in a whole materialistic context, and every time you go out the door, you see McDonald's burgers and smell the cooking meat, and it's just so nasty, so sinful, so horrible. And billboards with naked women everywhere. Like, it's just, that's not seclusion. Huh? Seclusion means that you stay in the atmosphere of the holy place. And according to your taste, it could be Vrindavan, or it could be Mayapur, or it could be, Rameshwar, or it could be any number of hundreds of holy places. But you stay within that atmosphere, you don't leave. That's seclusion. It means you don't come in contact with materialistic association. It's not that like you board yourself up in a cave somewhere. Actually, I've met yogis that lived in caves, and I sat with them. And we can't live that way. We're not, I think, tough enough for that kind of life. The Indians are still very austere compared to Westerners, and they can do it. Like these sadhus here in Tiruvannamalai who live on the street. They sleep like right on the concrete with just a blanket or something. I don't know how they do it, especially in winter. My God. They're made of something a lot tougher than we are. So we've had so much luxury in our lives compared to the average person on planet Earth that we don't realize how soft we've become, but we have, So seclusion means non-distraction. You don't encounter anything that distracts you or has a different energy, radically different energy from the sadhana that you want to do. See, so yeah, it's probably only possible in India if you're following the Vedic path. If you're following Buddha's path, then you have to go someplace like Sri Lanka or Thailand. You can still live up in a forest monastery. But you know, again, you have to follow the head monk. Whatever their beliefs or system or practices are, they're going to expect you to do that. So this has always been a problem for me because I'm very much self-directed. I'm very much self-disciplined. And after I left the temples, after I left ISKCON, I really didn't want to follow anyone because I had internalized the guru. I had brought him into my heart, and through the scriptures especially, I didn't really need that kind of day-to-day instruction. I was going to live like a sadhu no matter what, you know. So my whole life, I've lived mostly in India, and then if I needed money, I'd go back to the West, make money for a year or two, and then come back to India again for 5 years, you know. So this has been my life, and needless to say, I don't fit in the West. I don't even fit in among Indians in the West because they're too much degraded by materialism. You know, who went to the West from India? All the greedy people. All the people who wanted lots of money and stuff. They went to the West because that's where it is, you know. That's where it's available. Here in India, not so easily available. But in India, you can live a completely spiritual lifestyle and people will respect you. You know, everywhere I go, I'm always surprised by this. I guess I shouldn't be. But everywhere I go, dressed like a sadhu, people offer me pranams. You know, so I bless them. You know, that's what's expected. So if you really become a sadhu, people would treat you like a sadhu. In the West, I mean, if you're a sadhu, people treat you like dirt. You know, so it's better to be in India. And if you have a little money, you can easily rent a house. This house I live in is only 9,000 rupees a month. That's about, what, 150 bucks? $150 a month? It's incredibly cheap. So I live very comfortably, even on a limited income, and I don't have to worry. I know that my neighbors are good people. You know, if I need anything, and in the rare occasions when I have needed something, it was very easy for people to respond and help me out. And they don't even ask for thanks. They don't want to be thanked. They want to do it out of service to a sannyasi. So what can I say? This, for a spiritually minded person, India is just heavenly. So let's see what else we got here. Well, Suraj, I don't know. See, people get all these mixed up ideas about ego and being without ego and all this stuff. I think the Buddha had a very good teaching about this. He, of course, was quite well aware that there is no such thing as a separate individual. still, he used the ordinary language in the accepted way. And he simply made it clear that when he says I or me or my, he is referring to this aggregate, this fivefold aggregate, the 5 bodies, the 5 koshas, the Annamaya kosha, Pranamaya kosha, Manomaya kosha, Vijnanamaya kosha, and Anandamaya kosha. This is all discussed in the Vedas. See, the problem with all you guys is that you don't read the scriptures. If you did, you would find all of this completely clear in the scriptures. So then you get all mixed up and tangled up in your thinking, and then you have to ask somebody like me to untangle you. Well, it makes my job much harder that you don't have the background to understand these simple things immediately. I can't go on to teach the higher level things because you don't even understand the basics. Ryan is saying he wants to live in the energy field of a realized being. Yes, you should. Then so many things would become obvious, just obvious. I lived close to my guru and served him. And this, I mean, it cleared up so many things because I saw them in practice. Not only read about them, but also saw how you live them. And because you don't have that association, you have to guess. And when you guess, you usually guess wrong. So even though we gave great instructions on how to learn in our matrix learning course, people don't follow them. Even the people who signed up for the course, we gave the course back in August, even they didn't follow them. So what can I do, you know? There's somebody doesn't go back and look at the early videos that we made. If someone doesn't, even if they look at the videos, doesn't actually apply them, what can I do? You know, it's not like I can stand over your shoulder and tell you every minute what to do. Even if you're here, I couldn't do that. If someone comes here and, you know, takes a room down the street or something and comes every day, I would need them to help out. I need help here. I could be doing so much more than I am. But because I'm only one person, how can I take care of the house and take care of my body and do all this work and, you know, and do even more work? It's not possible. In fact, I just had to take like a few days downtime just to decompress from the whole big series that I did on the Devi Mahatmya, because that was a lot of work. You know, I could have used some help with that, or at least somebody to take care of the house while I did all this stuff, you know. But, you know, as I get older, I don't want to work so hard. You know, I'd rather just like come on like this, and live streaming every day and have people ask questions. And or do it by Zoom or something. I'm going to experiment with different ways. So let's see, any more questions? Well, see, people want to call me Guru, Dave, and this and that. But I tell you what, you don't have the right to call me Guru unless you're a disciple. You don't have the right. Unless I've accepted you as a disciple, you don't have the right to call me guru. You know, this is a big thing. I am not one of these people. I am not a mail order internet guru. You know, if you want to be a deserve a guru, if you're not a qualified disciple, then how can how dare you call anyone guru? Because a guru means someone who has taken a vow to save you. Let that sink in for a minute. Guru and disciple is like marriage, only it's more than marriage. It can go on for several lifetimes until you're ready. See, guru and disciple is a big commitment, a huge commitment on both sides. Both the side of the guru and the side of the disciple. It's a commitment. You know, who was it? Aristotle said that friendship, true brotherhood, is when you give whatever you have, you share whatever you have, everything you have, with your brother. See? And this is the same thing. True guru-disciple relationship means you share everything with your guru. Everything. You dedicate your whole life. Less than that will not be effective. Less than that will not get you what you want. Less than that would be just phony, a hoax. So when you see these people on the internet saying, well, just send me money and then I'm your guru, it's bullshit. No. Being a disciple means you come here, you do service for an extended period of time. I guide you in your practice. We get to talk every day. You get to ask whatever you want, and I also instruct you. And it sets you up. Huh? I mean, when I took sannyas here from my guru, Jnana Shakti Swami, I was ready to give him everything, all my money, everything. He didn't want it. See, that's the other thing. The other side is, real guru doesn't want your money. He doesn't want your stuff. What he wants is your time, your energy, and your love. So the real guru is not going to exploit you financially or any other way. Real guru is going to give you a chance to do the seva, the service, that brings you to enlightenment. How? By generating so much good karma that Shakti goes, oh, wow, this guy deserves liberation. See? Doesn't mean that it's not just a formality. You know, here in India, they have what's called Kula Guru. Kula means family. So the family guru. And it's like a priest. He does the birth ceremony for the kids and various initiations, and maybe at festivals he will preside over some sacrifices and some stuff. But it doesn't give moksha. It gives good family life. It gives good material life. Okay, but it doesn't give moksha. Why? Because he is not a liberated soul himself. He's also a family person. And he also has material desires. It's like a job. So that's not going to give you the ultimate liberation. See, you need to find a guru who's actually liberated. Then he can give you that because he has it. You know, someone cannot give you what they don't have, isn't it? So if you want liberation, if you want freedom from birth and death, you have to find somebody who already has that, you know, and then they can share it with you. But you have to be willing to share everything with them. Not that you just, you know, sign up for a course on the internet or, you know, watch some videos or something or send a check, you know. I guess nowadays it would be a EFT. But you send money, you know. What is money? It's, you know, it's just a symbol of work done or something. It's you know, anybody who's a real guru is going to be completely independent. I'll tell you this. They're not going to be dependent on their disciples for money, for a place to live, or for anything. See? They're not going to be running a business. They're not going to be running a little kingdom, you know, where they're the king and everybody else is their slaves. You know, a real guru is completely independent. He doesn't need you. And tell you the truth, as far as most people are concerned, he doesn't want you either. Because a qualified guru is only going to accept a qualified disciple. So a qualified guru arranges things in such a way that the disciple does the service that grants him the karma that makes him qualified. You follow? In other words, if you come to a real guru and you're not qualified, then he'll tell you, go away and do this and this and this. And when you do that, when you follow those instructions, that will give you the qualification. So, I mean, real guru is a very big deal. A very big deal. And it's amazing that, like, Bhaktivedanta Swami came to the West. You know, it's just incredible that he came to the West and he took up so many unqualified people and made them qualified. And then, of course, most of them later on deviated from his instructions, and so they lost their qualification. They offended him, actually. But that's their problem. That's not his problem. He made them qualified by making them do certain rituals and other yogic performances. And because of that, they were able to do sadhana. They were able to come to India, live in a holy place, and do sadhana. You know, I remembered it just the other night. Back in 1974 or 5, I think, when I was in India, in Vrindavan, I asked around, well, in Vrindavan, where's the most holy place? And of course, it's Radha Kund. Radha Kund is the bathing place of Radharani, Krishna's Shakti, and her very close associates. So there are some Babas that live there. And everybody told me, you know, you won't be able to stay there. It's too austere, and the Babas will reject you. You won't have any place to stay or eat. There's no shops. You know. And if you make any offense to Radha Kund, you'll fall down. And this actually happened to many Westerners. They went to Radha Kund and treated it like a swimming pool. You know, they were diving in and horsing around in the water and like that. So then afterwards they fell down. They had to leave India. So I said, I'm going to try it. I'm going to go. So I went to Radha Kund, which is a beautiful spot, you know, just a gorgeous place in the forest. And there are all these little kutirs, all these little cabins around where the Babajis live. So when I went there, I treated them very respectfully. You know, I bowed down to them, offered prayers to them and like that. And I got invited to stay. So I stayed in Radhakund for like, I don't know, 2 or 3 weeks, I guess it was. It was quite a long time. I mean, by Westerner standards, because most Westerners couldn't stay there even one night. So I stayed there for 2 or 3 weeks, and somehow I managed to get through it without making any offenses to any of the Babas or to the Kunda herself. And after that, my whole life changed. That was when I developed bhava, and I started getting ecstatic symptoms of bhakti and so on. So those still persist even to the present day. So you see, this is only possible because I got a lot of blessings and I got training from my guru. Because my guru opened up that very sacred space to me, and I was qualified to actually go there. And because I didn't make any offenses, one of the Babajis told me this. He said, "You've been here all this time, you haven't made any offense." He said, "How is it possible? You're a Westerner." I said, "Well, I listened to my guru." So see, guru can open doors for you that otherwise you would never be able to. I mean, you wouldn't even know they were there. You know, guru can do things for you, can bless you in ways you can't even imagine. And later on you look back and you say, wow, that was incredible, you know, how did that happen? Through guru's grace. So guru is not something to be taken lightly. It's not some kind of relationship you can have over the internet, you know. It's not something you can just sign up for, like signing up for a course or something like that. It's a lifetime relationship. See, I'm still a disciple of my first guru. I've never offended him. I've never rejected him. You know, there are some parts of his teaching that I have outgrown, but that's very understandable if you look at the chart of the 4 darshanams, Chatudarshanams. In the higher stages, one no longer needs the external symbolic rituals and stuff like that. One can internalize all that. One can even internalize the guru if one has the proper astrological background. All this can be known by analyzing the person's chart. And this is another thing the guru does. See, but all this cannot be done at a distance. It has to be done in person. It has to be done in the presence. Real guru means you have to be real disciple. Only then you have the right to call guru, Guruji. Let's see what else. Yeah, virtual guru is nonsense. What else does he say? Suraj, you were at Radhakund? Yeah, the kids can play because they're kids. But once you are an adult, you have to know what Radha Kund is all about. Otherwise, you make offense. And especially the Westerners, you know. Kids will play. So, anything else now? New? No? Okay. 9:20. Well, we've been on almost an hour. If anybody has any other questions, there's what, 56? Diomo, what question? Right action. Yeah, I was talking about that for a long time. How can you maintain right action if you're in bad association? If you're in the West, if you're in materialistic association, you're going to have to do so many nonsense things. If you're in business, you know, my guru, Adi Guru, before he became a sannyasi, he was a family man, a businessman. He had a successful Ayurvedic pharmacy business. And he used to say, business means cheating. Business means cheating. It's the same thing. You say business, it means cheating. Because there's so much competition. Everybody's looking for an angle. So business means cheating. If you're in business, then you're cheating. You know, he was very clear about that. So if one is in materialistic association, one has to earn money by any means. So this means cheating. You can't get away from it. And that, of course, diminishes your store of good karma. See, lying, cheating, stealing, saying things that are against the Dharma. You know, what to speak of actions against the Dharma. You know, so it's very hard to maintain a spiritual lifestyle unless you're in a spiritual place surrounded by spiritual people. That's just the way it is, you know. So you have to arrange your life in such a way that you have the leisure, the free time, and the resources to go to a holy place and live there in whatever style of life you're accustomed to. Because if you go there and you're living in a very hard, austere way, you probably won't be able to maintain it. So you have to be able to go, you have to have enough good karma to be able to go to a holy place and live as you're accustomed to. And then you'll be comfortable and you won't have any distractions caused by too much austerity, and you can do your sadhana in peace. See, that's the whole idea. Now, I mean, if you're an Indian and you're austere enough and you can live in a chautri or dharmasala, you know, that's fine. But if you're a Westerner or if you're accustomed to luxury, then you have to have some resources to get yourself the facilities that you need to be comfortable. That's all, you know. And you can do that if you have the requisite karma. See, if you have been engaged in pious activities your whole life. There's a saying in India which is very true. A saint in truth is a saint in youth. So, if you have been engaged in pious activities from the beginning of life, you will have the good karma enough to live in a holy place and have whatever you need. You know, and if there's any shortfall, if there's anything that you're missing, it's because you became too much engaged in the impious activities of materialistic life. You know, it's really, see, this is a lifelong thing. It's not like one day you decide, okay, I'm going to be a sadhu. No, it has to start early in life. Earlier the better. So one accrues pious karma over a long period of time. See, because this path, any way you come at it, whether from the ritualistic point of view or the bhakti point of view or the meditation point of view, takes 30, 40, 50 years. That's just the way it is. To remove the materialistic conditioning of whatever flavor, just simply takes that long. So you're looking at a lifelong endeavor. So it should be started as early as possible. Now, what's this? It's not about being austere. I mean, it's nice if you can be austere. But the important thing is to do sadhana. If you can do sadhana and live very simply, that's good. But if living very simply takes up so much of time and energy that it detracts from your sadhana, that's not good. You know, I don't understand how people can misunderstand this. See, this is my big problem in teaching this stuff, is that I don't understand how people think. It's hard for me to understand how anyone can misunderstand something that's so clear and simple. The important thing is the sadhana. Now, if you need to live in a palace with 100 servants in order to have a mind free from anxiety, then that's what you have to do. But if you can live in, under a tree and have a mind free from anxiety, that's good too. That's better because then you have less complication to deal with. Me, I'm somewhere in the middle. I was an artist, and then I was an engineer, then I was a writer, a software writer. And in all cases, I was used to having money coming in. So I had an apartment, I had a car, this and that. So I need to eat regularly, I need to sleep comfortably, I need to have walls around me to keep out the weather, Now, that's my need, okay? So I arranged my life in such a way that I would have a pension, that I could retire, that I could go to India, and like that. So if you can live more austere than that, that's fine. But if the austerity becomes a burden that'll distract from your sadhana, that's no good. You understand now? Huh? Suraj, you understand? Well, all the videos are about getting out of ignorance. See, again, what is the purpose of knowledge? Knowledge, it's not that we give knowledge for the sake of knowledge itself. I mean, I know some people like that who are just into collecting as much knowledge as possible, and they think that's really cool. But that's not going to save them. See? What's going to save you is to find a form of sadhana that works for you according to your level of advancement. If you're a beginner, if you're in Dvaitavada, then you have to do puja, lots and lots of puja, lots and lots of ceremonial worship. If you are in bhakti, if you're in love of God, good for you. You can still do the puja and the ceremonies like snana and bathing and stuff like that. But you do them with a different heart. You do them out of love, not out of duty, not out of obligation. See, Parashuram, when he approached his guru, what was his name? Anyway, he approached his guru and he said, I want to know the absolute. I want to know the truth. The guru said, okay, worship the goddess. So Parashuram went, and for 12 years he did intense worship, like 20 hours a day, worship of the goddess, according to all the scriptural regulations. And after 12 years, he said the 12 years passed just like a moment. After the 12 years, he came back to his guru and he said, this is a very wonderful question. I love this puja I've been doing, but is there any end to this religious obligation? Do I have to run my life according to duty forever? Or is there something beyond that? And so his guru said, good, this is the question I was hoping you would ask. Now you have done enough of the rituals. You've done enough of the external practices. Now it's time to internalize all of that and move into meditation. So you see, when karma yoga matures, one automatically, spontaneously develops bhakti. It's not that you try to develop bhakti. No, you try only to do the pujas according to Shastra. And if you're successful in doing the pujas, then spontaneously bhakti will develop. So then you begin to do the pujas instead of from a sense of duty, from a sense of love. And when bhakti reaches its maturity in prema, then automatically meditation develops. All the ceremonies and pujas, rituals become internalized into an attitude of pure love. And that then matures into meditation. All by itself. You don't have to do anything. If you're sitting down and trying to meditate, that's not meditation at all. I made that point in one of our recent videos. That is merely concentration. And if you do try to do concentration without withdrawing the mind from the senses, then it's out of order. It's not going to work. You're not going to be able to reach meditation. So anyway, meditation happens when the mind is so fascinated and attracted by the God within that you automatically lose interest in the externals. And you only want to be within and then just admiring the beauty of pure consciousness. And this will bring you to the summit of meditation, which is samadhi. See, samadhi, meditation, all these things cannot be done because by this stage there is no more doer, no more ego, no more individual self. The individual self becomes merged in the Supreme Self. And then everything happens automatically. Try to understand. People just don't understand this. I don't know why. I said it again and again, but they don't get it. Anyway, we've got some more questions here. Let's see. Don't bother yourself with UFOs and aliens and other planets and all this stuff. Deal with what's right here in front of you now. This is your business. Your business is to do your sadhana. If a flying saucer wants to come down and take you to another planet, fine. But until that happens, it's none of your damn business. And you're wasting your time thinking about all this stuff that has nothing to do with your enlightenment. I made a whole video about this recently too. And it just amazes me how people get involved in it, like politics. What business is it of ours if some guy is in some office in some faraway place, with some, whatever his title is or whatever his beliefs are or whatever, it's none of our business. Our business is what's right here, right now, in front of our noses. And that means sadhana. Our business is sadhana. It's not keeping up with social networks. It's not keeping up with the news. It's not anything but how are we going to become enlightened? That's our business. Anything that doesn't contribute to that is none of our business. And it should not be even an issue. It shouldn't even be a consideration. Just drop it already. Get on with your real business. All these other things are just distractions. They're keeping you from your real business in life. So drop them. Get over them. There are times here when I literally have nothing to do. I've had my meal, the house is kept up, everything is in order, nothing's broken, and I literally have nothing to do. Sure, I could sit down and start composing some music. Sure, I could sit down and maybe, write a book or compile a book from some scriptures or something. Or I could, I could hop on my scooter and go ride out in the country and go up in the hills and have a lot of fun and this and that. But guess what? None of that is going to help me attain self-realization or further my self-realization. So what do? I sit down, or these days I lie down, and I go into meditation. And I spend hours and hours in deep meditation. And this is my life now. See? I'm so attracted, I'm so interested, I'm so fascinated with the inner, with the beauty of the self with a capital S, that why should I do any other thing? Why should I even think of anything else? It's so beautiful, it's so amazing, so interesting and pleasurable. So why should I think about, sometimes I read the news just to see, what people are up to and stuff. And it's always a disappointment. You know, it's always just the same stories over and over and over again. In just different names and places, but it's the same crap. Different day, same nonsense. So why should I do that? Why should I waste my time? I could be in samadhi. Or if I'm not capable of samadhi, I could be working towards samadhi. I could be doing some puja. I could be studying the scriptures. I could be doing any number of things that would bring me closer to my goal. What do I need with all this nonsense about the world? I don't need it. I don't need it. I don't want it. It's none of my business, and I have let it go. That's the meaning of sannyas. Sannyasa means I don't care anymore about the external world. Only the minimum required to maintain the body, and that's it. Bas, finished. Everything else, every possible minute of the day is invested in sadhana. And that's the real life. That's why we're here. We're not here to get interested in stuff that's none of our business. That's how we stay in the material world, by cultivating an interest in things that are none of our business. So what else we got here? No, it's like science. You know, I used to be interested in astrophysics. In fact, I was going to go to school for it. I even got a scholarship for physics. But I didn't accept it. Instead, I went to music school, and I'm glad. So drop it. Okay, what's this? Video has paused. Oh, it's back now. Okay, well, we've been on this now for an hour, and nobody has asked any really good questions. So I have stuff to do. My cleaning lady is coming, and so I think it's a good time to end off. Unless there's some really good burning questions out there.